Afternoon. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. It was meant to start at 12:30, but unfortunately I had to delay it a little bit. And I'm going to give it just a few more minutes. Hope you're all well that are in the room. I'm going to give you some information on the Anne Widdecombe situation and the murder. And I think there's only one or two of you in the room now, so it's fine. Let's just go ahead with that. Just make it more personal. I'm going to have to think of how to phrase this properly, so I don't want to get into any trouble with either with YouTube or with the police who have already been around to see me this morning. So that's why it's a little bit late, to be open and honest. What I can say, and I'd like to say just now, is, and I'm going to use this in a particular way, there's a delay because, and apologies that I'm starting a little bit late. I've had a visit from the police today, so that's the reason it's a little bit later than I thought it was going to be. So there's 16 of you in the room, so hope you're all well. And I'm going to go on to a little bit about the information that is not yet in the public domain. I want to give it to you first. I would have done this on a live on Facebook, but of course I'm restricted on Facebook, and yeah, it's been a bit of a difficult situation, so a little bit unprepared for that. So I'm going to just give it a few more minutes. I'm not going to play any songs. I'm not going to put on my jam, Going Underground, and all the music that I've got there. So I'll give that a break for a minute. So this morning I had a visit, which I expected, from the police, warning me on one or two things, which is quite standard now under the Terrorism Act of 2022. So I had a bit of hand cream there. Not that it's mine. And I'm just going to just wait for a second, just to want to make sure that I give everything the right way. So let's just start. So Anne Widdecombe. I was one of the first people that came out and said that it was a targeted assassination. There are a number of people who know something about this, and a lot of people who don't want to say anything in case they're going to be arrested for what I'm about to say. There was two media presenters, both of them I like very much. I don't know them personally, but I watched them. And they came up with information that there were some communism papers found at this person's address, and indeed left-wing literature. Let me be open and honest. This is a psyops operation and a diversionary attempt to tell you something that is not quite correct. I'm not saying this information wasn't found at this person's address, but what I can say is a white elephant in the room. It's not the right word to use, is it? It's a diversion. So the key aspect is there was digital information that was found before they made the arrest of a person in Rotherham. And Lawrence Taylor joined counter-terrorism in May or June of last year. And his background as a Deputy Commissioner of London, he's been used to staging events and handling large-scale operations. Counter-terrorism in the UK is split into different divisions, and there's a specific reason why counter-terrorism Southeast was selected. Hi everybody, so it's coming in. It's because they already had specific intelligence on an operation that was going to target the Reform Party. I'm not a follower of Nigel Farage. I don't like any politicians, just to put that on the case. And I think there's a lot of things about Nigel that I don't like. But what I can say is that his organisation has been targeted. That's the reason Lawrence Taylor has been brought in to run this counter-terrorism, because this is the South East Terrorism Unit, and they report directly into the Metropolitan Police Commissioner. And they also report a dual role into the National Police Council, I think it's called, which means that they will work on a day-to-day basis with all the constabularies across the UK. But the head of counter-terrorism, South East, was specifically chosen because they have specific intelligence on a on a group that is targeting, and they're called the right wing, but it's targeting political parties. And Reform is a targeted party. This is not the Russians. This is not anything to do with another state which they may try and tell us, and it's nothing to do with mental health. This person that's set up is a patsy because, first of all, there is no way he was able to drive that distance and return at that time. It was a specifically targeted event with a 10-minute window. They waited until the communication would be finished between Anne Widdecombe and the producer in the show for the afternoon. And she was having problems with the Zoom is because that her internet was being affected by something, which I can't go into too much details. I have to be really careful what I say at the moment. But I'm trying to give you the information before it becomes public. So Anne Widdecombe's 10-minute window between 19 minutes past 12 and 12:30 is roughly the time they're talking about. The colour of the car in this driveway was not red, first of all. They haven't released the CCTV camera footage of the driveway because the car in the driveway is not red. The person they've arrested has a red car. Those two don't match. The head of counterterrorism in the southeast was pulled in because he has, one, the resources, two, he reports out to the Met Police Commissioner, and three, he also handles Central London and Southeast, which is the main hotbed for this organisation. She was an easy target, but it's a diversion. I have to be careful what I say here because I really want to say that that is, yes, I'll tell you now, Grace, yeah, it's not correct. There is a Southwest counter-terrorism unit which would cover from Dorset down to the coast and up to Somerset and so on. So that is not correct. He does not. Yes, he covers the whole of the UK because he's head of counter-terrorism, but his specific unit is Southeast. One, they have quite good amount of resources. Secondly, he reports out to the Met Commissioner, so it's easy to manage the information. And thirdly, he also covers the parliamentary area based on the politics. All right, so Central London. That is the reason he was chosen. There's specific intelligence information that relates to a group who wish to target right-wing politics. I'm not saying Antifa. I'm not saying they're a terrorism unit. What I'm saying is there is a group of people who are causing issues in the country because we now see that there's a sea change from people being in the past challenging people like me that say you're wrong or Craig Houston's wrong or people are wrong. We know something is wrong with our country. We know we're being fed lies all the time. You cannot have a police force like Devon and Cornwall that say it's not politically motivated, it's not this, it's not that, it's a burglary gone wrong. All this was bullshit, but it's part of the plan of bullshit because when you create an atmosphere of misinformation and then you make an arrest of a guy who happens to be a handyman because the colour of his car is not red. The colour of his car is the same one that was in the driveway, which Nigel Farage knows. The car in Rotherham, that car was not in the driveway because it's a different colour. So that's why this immediate arrest was taking place. It was to make, I believe, I don't know 100%, I believe it's all part of the plan to create a group of misinformation, which then looks as though that the major counter-terrorism are going to take control, and then you'll find that the mental health will come into play, which I said in the earlier video before it was said mental health. The communist leaflets, Dan Wooten and all that were probably right that the information was there, but that's there for a specific reason, to create an atmosphere of a possible lone wolf, some of the mental health issues. He has some affiliations. There will be another couple of arrests in the coming days. I know there will be, and that will be related to a small group. But the bigger picture is bigger than that, because if you can imagine politics, I'll come into people in Parliament. People in politics are playing a theatre game with us. This is why I have to be really careful what I say. I've been warned by the police today, so I have to be. I'm a little bit less open than I probably would be at the moment, because they turned up my house really early this morning. But there's a group of people that control our country, however we want to spread it. This is not a conspiracy. This is not about people being lunatics. This is about, we all know something is wrong with our country. And every time Labour had a bad year, the Conservatives would come in and they would take over, and they would lurch from one crisis to another. It's either blue or red. It has been like that forever. They knew that this was becoming a situation which was untenable. So what they tried to do, they tried to separate us even more by bringing other political situations into it. So the Green Party, or you'll have Reform, or you have Restore. And all these theatre of politics is there to make us become even more disenfranchised with each other. When somebody goes into Parliament, something happens between becoming somebody with a lot of principles, getting into Parliament, and then you find out that they change. Anne Widdecombe was one of the few people that never changed. And she's alluded to the fact that there is a deep state involvement. I have to be really careful here. I don't sound crazy, and I have to be careful of what I've been told today. So you can see Anne Widdecombe was about to spill the beans on something. And it's not all positive for our politics. And it wasn't about just reform. And I believe wholeheartedly there is a link between the Anne Widdecombe shutting her off with the Dr. David Kelly from the Southport murders because of Tony Blair, and all the rest of the theatre that we get. People are taken out gradually, and sometimes they make an example of them, and sometimes they're taken out for a specific reason. Anne Widdecombe had information that she was going to share, and she already told 2 media people she was going to share it, and they had to act quickly. And back to it quickly, there's a 10-minute window. You do not get somebody driving from Rotherham in a different colour car, parking in the driveway, doing the escape route, knowing he's driven to a Dartmoor corridor where he's going to be spotted. And I looked at the choke points about where would the ANPR be. This was a coordinated event with a specific time window, and it wasn't somebody that didn't know what they were doing. Now, you saw the video of the man in the red car with the baton sticking out. He doesn't carry that back with him. This is all about the game. This is a game of theatre, and we have to try and work out who all the players are. I'm being really careful what I'm saying here. Oh, fuck it. Anne Widdecombe was assassinated because she had information which she's going to make public. She's no different from some of the other people who are going to go public for it and have already lost their lives. Andrew Bridgen is not in danger, in my opinion, because that is part of the theatre. There's too many things, and I'll give you an Andrew Bridgen situation. It's a reality. If Andrew Bridgen was watching in now, I'd absolutely delightfully talk to him about it. I gave Andrew Bridgen a file in 2022, a file about children being trafficked from Ukraine. I gave details of the MI6 officer, the diplomat. I gave details of the British paratroopers that were involved, former British paratroopers, involved, the SBU officers from the Ukraine. I gave the details of the charities in the UK, Save the Children, and 1 or 2 others. He had that file for a year, 1 year, from the August to the August. And he did a podcast with somebody, I can't remember the guy's name. After that, said it was too dangerous for him. I produced that file and put it out in the market. It's been copied by other people since. And I've named everybody. including the MI6 officers. And that shows you how far the deep state goes. The deep state have a control of most people, and how they do it. I'm going to say something here now. So how they do it is, if you can imagine Special Branch, the Sweeney in the old days, the hard men from Penge, who are involved, I've got a cock again, who are involved with certain groups. And when you see a former commissioner, deputy commissioner, chief of police that's committed or ended their own life, why would they have done that? What happens when they blackmail people is they will go to a house of a senior police officer, and in that house they will have a child, and they'll be, I'm going to call them bent coppers, I'm going to call them whatever they are, and they will give them an ultimatum. Either you do what we tell you, there's a child there, put it in compromised positions, not saying anything happened, compromised position, or your family upstairs won't see you tomorrow. What do they then do? That's where the blackmail starts to take place. When you go into Parliament, people change. You get into Parliament, you get a position of power, and all of a sudden, they don't do anything. Now, Andrew Bridgen's a prime example of standing up about COVID. Fabulous, we all love that. But there are other things where I would have to say that Andrew hasn't done stuff which would have been helpful to us all. So I'm not saying Andrew is a bad man. What I'm saying is I don't trust any politician, any political party, because when they get into politics, something changes. And that makes me certainly not happy with who I've put in front of us. If you can imagine yourself in a prison, we're in a prison. We pay our taxes. It's like our working capital that we have to work and stay in prison. There are gatekeepers, somebody's put here. And those gatekeepers can be people that are prison guards. They just happen to eat better than us. They happen to have bigger houses than us. They happen to be, that live a little bit better than us. But there are prison guards to stop us getting to prison wall, to climbing out. So that when you escape the prison, you realise that these prison guards are just gatekeepers like everybody else. Not one of them I would trust. Not one of them would I trust. But some will come out and say, I've had enough. And we're going to talk about Jill Dando now. I'm going to be a little giver. Please ask me any questions you want, please, and I'll try and yeah, I will try and answer as many questions as I can. I know that I'm having to be a little bit careful with what I say about the Anne Widdecombe thing. I just want you to know that the man in Rotherham is not the man. There wasn't a red car in the driveway. It was another colour. That's why the other 26-year-old in Newton Abbot was arrested, because he got the wrong guy. Because the colour was different. The colour was the same one as the guy in Newton Abbot. The one in Rotherham wasn't. That 500 and whatever mile round trip, 4.5 to 5.5 hours, on that particular day, he could not have left Rotherham unless it was before 6 o'clock in the morning, because of the traffic that was on the roads and the accidents on the roads. And I've checked it all. I think Richard Donaldson put on one of his ones, he was spot on. The timing was impossible. That man's a patsy. Dan Wooten and another lady who's on YouTube, very good lady, talked about the communist papers and the left wing bit. They were there, and it's not been mentioned by the police, but that was planted. And please understand that this whole game is being played out in front of us. Look at the things. Dan Wooten is he's one of the few people I would trust in media. Now, I don't know Dan at all. I know he's used some of my stuff, but Dan says it how it is, and he's a man who really is very well connected with certain people. Lauren Insider, yeah, Lauren is really good. Lauren, I don't know a person, but I know of her work. All their work is spot on and correct, but sometimes the pawns in the game are being used, and this information about the about the left wing is there for a reason. And that is what they understand. The game is bigger than that. Look at who's been elected to run this operation. The elected person runs Counterterrorism South East, which operates out the Met Police Office, which operates the political parties. The South West Counterterrorism Unit wasn't involved. Now, they can say one or two things in terms of finances and resources and everything else. I've been in that game a long time. Let me tell you, he's appointed for one particular reason, and one particular reason only. He can be controlled at the central point by the Metropolitan Police, who are part of this problem, and it is also covering parliamentary parties. There is an act of people that are going to go against reform, and Nigel Farage, as much as I don't trust him, he is spot on. They will be targeted. Let me tell you about Jill Dando. It's probably a good time if I can tell you. Please keep asking me questions. I'm trying to be a bit careful what I say now about after the visit this morning, but I'm willing to talk about as much as I can. Hey, hey, Dave. Jill Dando situation. There's one person here, Da Vinci, and I have disagreed with this. The only time we and I have ever disagreed about anything. About who finally did take Jill Dando out. But let me tell you the process of it. Jill Dando, like many others, knew all about the children, the abuse of children and the selling of the children, and the world evolves around the eating of those children in the sense of what I'm trying to say. I have found, much to my cost, of being involved in tracking down child traffickers, especially with Interpol, and prior to that, that this industry is massive and it affects everybody. And Jill Dando had come with some information to a particular cameraman and a particular producer on ITV and said, I have this document. I've been following this for a long time. My best friend's child has been trafficked by Epstein, okay, and their family. That's what she had. She spoke to this producer and a cameraman. They organised to do a programme about it. That producer then spoke to somebody more senior, and that's when it's all changed. So the guy, George, who was the person first arrested for this, he was set up. He was set up because he was a royal lover, and Prince Andrew, okay, Prince Andrew knew that, as did his entourage. So Prince Andrew arranged to have this guy, George, to a party that he was going to be at. Whilst he was at that party, two detectives from the Metropolitan Police went into this guy's home and they planted evidence. Because he had evidence planted, one of those detectives, who I've spoken to, put something there deliberately so that the case would be thrown out of court when it came to court. So he knew, these two detectives, knew that this guy, George, was being set up. And he's been set up because they wanted this man to be set up for the murder of Jill Dando. Long story short, he wasn't. Now, why was she murdered? Let me tell you why she was murdered. Because of the documentary she was going to produce, which involved the royal family and Epstein. But there's one pivotal person involved in all that. And that pivotal person is Tony Blair. So how it operates is the Prime Minister is the only person that can order the Chief of Staff from the military to do something on behalf of the state. A call comes in from the establishment to Tony Blair, say this is going to have to happen. Tony Blair would then make a call to Chief of Staff. Chief of Staff would then talk to one particular person to arrange for this to be done. I know Emma and Hart and Da Vinci's in here. We have that disagreement on who actually did the final part. but we both agree that how it could have been done. And something will come out in the next year or two when this person's brother passes. There's a document that will come out in the public domain. We could never tie Tony Blair down to it because you can never get the connection between the two. And I'm talking in theory a little bit. But if you have a look at everything else Tony Blair is involved in, including the Southport situation, you can start to join the dots. Not just to make them up, but you can start to join the dots. And I went to Rwanda. I'm jumping in a little bit. I went to Rwanda and investigated the father of Axel because I knew there was a connection somewhere in Rwanda between the father and the government. It turns out he is the nephew of the General Secretary of Rwanda, who was in number 2. And he kicked him out of the army because he was too psychotic. He got him moved to Britain. There's some saying he was defended by Starmer. I have no idea if he was or not. But Starmer's plays a part in this because there are a number of things with him and Tony Blair that are linked inextricably. And one is Dr. David Kelly. But when it comes down to this situation with Rwanda, I was able to get the link between the two. I was able to get the link that who taught this Axel about the genocide and about how to be psychotic and how to use knives. His father did. His father was thrown in the army because he was too crazy, but he's protected by the General Secretary, who's his uncle. Now, why was all that important? Well, they didn't want the heat to fall in Rwanda. They don't want that connection between the General Secretary and Axel's father, because the Global Initiative for Tony Blair operates out of Rwanda as one of the main hubs, and they're paid a fortune. And they didn't want that link to be taking place because therefore it would put Tony Blair's Global Initiative into a bit of a situation and Rwanda, and that's why it becomes really complicated. So you can see how these little things work. So all these things, whether it's Robin Cook, whether it's Dr. David Kelly, whether it's the Southport situation, and now Anne Widdecombe, all of these things are done with a hidden agenda. And that is what we have to try to separate. And it comes down to following the money. And when you follow the money, you can start to see who the paymasters are. Tony Blair is absolutely involved in everything you don't think is good in this country. If Dr. David Kelly had been able to give his testimony for the September dossier, Tony Blair would have been in prison for life. And he dies. The same way a former GCHQ operator who found out about that was found out in his house, in his flat, with the doors locked, in a bag that was zipped up. If you look into that, you'll see it's all connected. I'm sorry, I have to jump around a little bit here. Very strange that Rotherham guy, right, so, yeah. All of that is a stage, Jan. That red car wasn't there. The car colour was white. It was impossible for him to drive that distance. Absolutely impossible. At the timing, for that 10-minute window to do it. How would he have known to wait until the final text went to the producer of the show saying the Zoom connection was okay? And at 12:30, so that 11 minutes, how would he have been able to do that so precisely? That is meticulous planning, ambush. You don't put your car in the driveway as your only means of escape. You don't go to Dartmoor Corridor, which that village is 280 people, 100 houses. You're going to be spotted. A car was placed there deliberately. They got the car colour wrong. And that's where the hole starts to appear in that whole case. They planted information on this particular man about having communism. I'm not saying Dan was wrong, Dan was right, but I think it was there, it's planted. You don't have a codgel sticking out your pocket and a white t-shirt, 100%. None of that makes any sense. And because we're all awake now, because we all realise something is wrong, that is now why we're becoming smarter than the average bear. We're becoming awake so quickly that we don't accept that bullshit anymore. we start to see people for who they really are. The problem that we all have is there are a lot of patriots with big egos. I don't know. I don't cooperate with anybody else because I've been tested on things and it hasn't worked out well. And there are a lot of good people with good intention, but it's all about them. It should be all about us. And we need to find a way to stand as one. We look at the Restore situation. It almost becomes, who do we vote for? I don't know, Rupert, but I did the vape gang investigation. He didn't trust anybody. He could have come to me and asked me more questions, but he put it in Parliament. That's okay. Awareness is everything. It's not about me or about Joe Blogs. It's about awareness. And the more of us that can find a way to cooperate together, the better we can be. I worry about how things are going to go. The big event in Suffolk, so I'm jumping a little bit around now, so I'm trying to cover a few things. The thing in Suffolk, I know that there are operatives that were within that operation, in that place, not the 12 guys who were arrested, which is ridiculous, because I was warned today about terrorism act of being locked up. So these guys who put the drones over, they just tried to use them as a scapegoat. I keep looking at the window waiting for the police to turn up. But I'm saying that there were people within that will, from a non-intelligence perspective, i.e. people like us, that were finding out more about it. So there'll be more to come on that, I'm sure, soon. Let me tell you, Alison, my head explodes sometimes. I can sit at 3 o'clock in the morning and think, what the hell am I doing here? Why is this all worth? Why am I doing it? What's this all about? I have nothing to gain and everything to lose. I have lost everything. Anybody knows me, really knows me, knows I have lost everything. They can't take any more from me, not one thing. And I feel I'm on borrowed time, but whilst I'm here, I'll enjoy it. It's not the right word to use, of course, is it? I wondered why her agent didn't check in on her. Yeah. So the gap on Anne Widdecombe was between 12:19 and 12:48. That half-hour window. The police said specifically 12:30. Right. Keep looking at the windows. I'm expecting the police to turn up at 12:30. Why did they say 12:30? Because how could they be guaranteed that that's when she really died? There's that half-hour window. So what are they trying to say? She could have died after 12:49, actually, to be fair. Because she didn't respond, she may have been chatting to the person that was about to kill her. They say specifically 12:30 to show that short window. What are they trying to tell us? There's more to that. It's a full cover-up. Set up possibly get away. Absolutely. It is a stage. I like Lowe, apart from the fact he wants to abolish devolution in Hollywood. I don't know, Dave. I mean, I don't know. I'd abolish every parliament, if I'm honest. There's a thing with Julian Assange at the moment. So I'm going to just answer some other questions now while I'm on. I'm pleased that I know I'm jumping about a little bit. I'm just being a little bit careful. They're not going to come in the window, are they? They're going to come in the front door. But I'm looking at the window for some reason. The world is a stage. I'm not even sure Julian Assange is Julian Assange. That's another thing to close it. And that little guy with the beard looks like a transport police dude. Right, okay. Let me tell you about using of actors. Go back to Liverpool. If you look at the Liverpool FC, their parade, and you had that car ploughed into, and this died a death really quickly. The car ploughed into people. To change the number plates, you see the man changing number plates during the fracas. The person looks nothing like the original EFIT. What were the spotters on the roof doing? The snipers on the roof doing that were spotted? that had no insignia on them. That was staged event in Liverpool. If they can stage that, they can stage everything else. Whenever you have a demonstration in the city, and this is what I don't know Tommy Robinson either, and I don't get involved in the debates on Tommy or anybody else. I think creating awareness is really important. But they've already done it in London before. So when they take you down a certain street, they can move your procession from one street to another just by diverting you. Now, there was a week before Tommy's first event, I think, where there was a demonstration group that were told to go down, I won't say Bread Street, but it wasn't Bread Street. And they all became ill. And they became ill because they increased something from the equipment they have in that area. I sound like I'm a right conspiracy theorist now. It shouldn't be a conspiracy theorist, because conspiracy theorist is not a real thing. I appreciate. Yeah. So these red flag events, or these false flag events, I should say, are being put out all the time. And I go back to the 7/7 bombing. I proved, along with others, that 7/7 bombing was not done in the way that it was stated. One key thing you could have a look at, if you don't believe me, I can talk about pictures being manipulated and everything. The key aspect is on the tube. The bomb blast. I have been involved 20 years looking into different things when it comes to military. A bomb blast from a backpack. What way do you think that would blow? Do you think it'd be blowing up, or do you think it'd blow down? If you put your backpack on the floor, where would the bomb blast go? It'll explode, and it would blow a hole in the door, in the floor. So it would concentrate in one area, and it would just, that's a blast space. In the tubes on 7/7, the bomb blast came from underneath the floor, because it blew it through the floor and upwards, not downwards. If you have a backpack, you'd have to get out the train and put the backpack and seal it underneath the train, and let the bomb blast go upwards rather than downwards. That's how you know it was a false flag event. The only bus, 7/7, that was ever being diverted into that one square was that bus, which just happened to have that man on it. Why was that diverted into that Russell Square? All those little things point to lots of things. The key thing is have a look who the CCTV on that train was that day, as was in Huntington, and it's an Israeli-owned company. People called me Mossad before. Have a look at CCTV and who runs London Underground and who runs the train system. On the Huntington train, I'm jumping now because I'm just jumping around. On the Huntington train, the person who's a witness on television happens to be the person who wasn't in the carriage, who went to the carriage and says, "Oh, don't play with those knives. I'll just go back to my carriage." Was in the wrong carriage to see that. Could not have got to that carriage because the door was locked. But she saw everything. Who does she work for? Works for a government agency on digital. And she's put up as the person that witnessed it. Doesn't make sense. I really appreciate your positive comments here. I really appreciate these 2 comments. I really do. And I genuinely mean that to people. When I get positive comments, it really does help, because it's a lonely road sometimes, and it's dangerous. And I've been arrested more times than I ever thought would be possible. Why am I not put away for a long time, or why am I not dead? That will come, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll come. Hopefully, 3 weeks left. Yeah, it was next Tavistock. Yeah. If you also have a look at the blast bus, you have a look at there's an advert on that bus when the weight is blown up, and then that advert's about a show, and that show's related to that as well. And I happened to get blown up just outside the Israeli company that owns CCTV as well. That tells you everything. Any mobile footage yet? Would people get their phones out of me? Yeah, mobile footage is really important. Is because if you can remember those aliens that landed in Las Vegas. So I keep looking at the window. I've got to stop that now. In Las Vegas, they phoned 911, but they didn't video the footage of the aliens. It doesn't happen. I'm going to give you a website that I would really encourage you to go and look at. And the website is called, I can't remember, I don't know how to type in here because I should do. Maybe Dave, if you know this one, it's avalonlibrary.net. So it's AVALON, avalonlibrary.net. Now that website, when you go into, we supply a lot of information on that website, as do others, and that will give you documents on every single thing you're interested in, whether it's the UFOs, or what they call them UAPs now, whether it's to do with Starmer, whether it's to do with Calgary, whether it's to do with the Trilateral Commission, whether it's to do with the WF, Bill Gates, whoever it is, Princess Diana. There are files that you can download, and it's free on almost every subject that you are interested in. Now, with that, there's also videos which you can download free on almost every subject and documentary that you're interested in. There's also ebooks, including, and they're all free. Everything's free. Ebooks on the Book of Enoch, as an example, if that interests you. There's 10,000 ebooks you can download free. I think I've got 14 lives. I think I've just wasted them all, Laurie. I sent you an email, by the way, as well, Laurie. As well. I think it was you. Yes, it was. I think last night. So avalonlibrary.net. Please go and have a look. Now, there's a forum in there, and if you follow me, a subscriber on here or a subscriber on Facebook or whatever, say that you know me, and they will give you access to the forum. And the forum is probably 800 topics you can go and have a look at on a forum and talk with like-minded people, so you're not alone. So avalonlibrary.net, you can go and download documents to your heart's content on everything that interests you. Videos, there's hundreds of videos to download, all free. Ebooks, all free. There's thousands of them, and there's forums. Oh yeah, that picture there. That actually, this picture here is actually a correct. Let's see if I can do it. If I can get this up. Hang on, let's see if I can do this properly. Sorry, hang on, where am I? There we are. Sorry, if I can try and do this properly, hang on. Right, sorry. Right, you can have a look actually in the picture. There are actually other pictures, and oh God, I hope I can do this properly. So the actual picture's made up of obviously lots of other smaller pictures here. I got that in Brighton. Actually, you know what? Which year this year? There we are. Just showing you a little bit. And you can see where my musical taste came from. So, like that, right? My boudoir. Boudoir, it's not really. It's just mod father. And that's me just looking to see if I can see if the police coming down my stairs. Yeah, so that's actually a little bit of my pictures. And my music tastes are about probably all the same of music. There we are. A little bit of a. Have you heard of Dr. Nick Colliston? I thought it was no, actually, I haven't. Da Vinci. Can I just say to you, Da Vinci, you're I love you to bits, man. You're a good man, and you make me smile. I thought I had a really tough life until I found out yours. Honestly, it could be a day where I could give out lots of jokes, but I won't do that at the moment. What's that person name? So it's let's have a wee look. Old mod. I'm a very old mod. Dr. Nick Colostrom. Here's something that might actually be worthwhile people looking into. I was asked by Victoria. I'll name drop a little bit here. Victoria is the widow of a famous rock star. He was a lead singer of Soundgarden, and his best mate was Chester Bennington of Linkin Park, and the two of them invested a lot of money, $5 million, into a charity about children called Aid for Haiti. These are children that have been displaced by war and tsunamis and everything else. And they made a surprise visit to the island, Haiti, to see how the money's being spent. The doctors had gone missing. The nurses had gone missing. The children had gone missing. And it was run by an initiative called the Clinton Initiative. You know who those are, don't you? That Clinton Initiative, you may not be aware of, was set up by three people. Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, and Jeffrey Epstein. Three of them. Legal papers, you can have a look it up. It sounds terrible if you look it up. I don't mean that to be what I'm trying to say. So those three people set up the Clinton Initiative. Now they went down there looking for the children. Now they came back, and if you can go to YouTube and look for the duet from both of those two gentlemen, and they did a duet on YouTube. It's on YouTube, and it's about eating children at a top table. And they did that the week after they came back from Haiti. And I go back to both their deaths now. I was asked by Victoria to have a look at some paperwork about the death. And I did it because I knew her through somebody else. We looked at it. This man is 6'3". He was on stage that evening. I saw the videos of him on stage, and he was dancing and bouncing around like he would always do. Yeah, he committed suicide, unalived himself. And he did it by hanging himself on a door. Now, the door was 6 foot. He was 6'3". So he had to hang himself at an angle. And his blood splattered all over the wall. And the CCTV cameras happened to be out. And there was no signs of forced entry. And his bodyguard had gone missing for those 15 minutes. And he had 9 broken ribs. Yet it was okay when he was on stage half an hour earlier. That was a really unusual death. But he was hung in a certain way. 1 month later, Chester Bennington committed suicide. In exactly the same way. Hung in a certain way. So why did both of them decide to commit suicide the same way? Just after returning, finding out the money hadn't been spent very well by the Clinton Foundation on children that had gone missing. Couldn't be found. And they did a song about it. Check that out, and you'll see that that all fits. Chester Bennington's father is John Podesta. You're probably aware of that. If you're not, come to my website and you'll hear the audio about it. Chester Bennington, John Podesta's son. John Podesta is the largest holder of art with children in the White House. And his brother and him were in the same area in Portugal when Madeleine McCann went missing. That's another story. John Podesta is very friendly with the Clintons, and if you've heard of Comet Pizza, then you'll understand sort of the links that are coming in together. Now, if you remember, there was a ship that got stuck in a canal. Panama Canal, is it? One of the canals. You know which one it is. I can't see too much in here. Now that blocked the canal for days and days and days. And all of a sudden, it's never mentioned again. Why is that? Because it was a boat that was reportedly had cargo on it, human cargo. That's another rabbit hole for you to go down. I wouldn't do that. Go to avalonlibrary.net and you'll find a lot of information on there about it, and you can make up your own mind. Let's have a look here. Have you heard about sudden passing of America? Yeah, I did a video on the passing of Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is a horrible piece of. When I worked for Dutch military intelligence, we knew all about him. He's been well known to be a person that has funded wars through Israel for a long, long time. And when he was in Kiev last Friday, he did a press conference just after midday. I've seen that press conference. A little bit later on, there was a Russian strike in the same district he was in. Now, I'm not saying the Russians did it, by the way. Could have been Vladimir, of course, Zelensky. But to get from there, Kiev, to Poland, where you get the flight back to the US, it's an 8 to 10 hour journey. He was meant to have got the 2 o'clock in the morning train, which would have meant he'd have got a 10 o'clock flight from Wislów, which is southern Poland. But there's no notification of any of the 2 military aircraft that would have taken him back to Washington. Now that manifests, of course, sometimes it's not around. But the other senator who was with him did a press conference in Warsaw the following day, saying he'd just been to the front lines of the Ukrainian army. But he wouldn't be able to make that in time because it's too far to get way over to the other side of Poland to then go all the way to Warsaw by train. Not possible. So he didn't go to us. There's no photographs, there's no videos, nothing. Lindsey Graham was taken out by somebody whilst he was in Kiev, and there's been no photographs of him in America. There was no photographs of the ambulance to take him to the hospital. There's nothing. He died over in Kiev. I don't. It's like, do you know anything about the Southport stabbing? Yeah, I can tell you a lot about the Southport stabbings. Right, okay, yeah, I think I covered a little bit earlier, but very briefly, JT3. Axel's father is a nephew of the General Secretary of Rwanda, which is the number 2 in Rwanda. Tony Blair Initiative runs Rwanda. They didn't want that known. I've got the documents on my files on my website. If you have a look at that, he I'll have a look at Redknapp Limited. It will be a front company, but the father is the nephew of the General Secretary of Rwanda, who took all the cash with the Prime Minister, the President, and his links with Tony Blair are inextricable. Don't want to ask policy. Can you be? Yeah, I must get 1,000 messages a day. But anybody that's on here just now, if you can send an email to me through the contact form on my website, I will make sure I look at that today. Lincoln Park Military Base. Yeah, it is actually, you're right. Podesta is a satanic. I want to do this. I wanted to talk about Frazzle Drip, and I did a video on this, but I'm having to look for a form where I can actually do it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do it through Brave Communications. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a link, which I'll put on my socials, and a time, and I'll be able to do it on an open source on a Brave Communication platform, which means I'm protected and I won't get struck off social media. Because I talk about Frazzle Drip, I want to talk about the 13 quadrants in the UK. I want to talk about who's running those quadrants, how they're knitted together with Satanic Council, and how that's linked to our government. And I hope to do that in the following week. I apologize a bit late. Masonic, yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Da Vinci just said that like the Vatican banker, both Chester Bennington, the lead singer of Soundgarden, and Michael Hutchins, died the same way. The three of them exactly the same as Calvary, the Vatican banker from the bridge. If you look at how they're hung, that's done. Evergreen is the name of the boat. Yeah, that's correct. Evergreen knows the world. Yeah, I like age of technology. Vintage. Do you know anything about the Asian countries going through a gap in? No, I haven't. No, I haven't. I keep talking about websites. I will come back on this one as well. 80 ships here. If you go to avalonlibrary.net, it's a great website for getting hold of documents, getting hold of videos, and the forums. They will answer a lot of questions for you. That I will have a go with it. MI6 helped. So MI6 organised with Tony Blair to bring Axel's father to UK because the General Secretary needed to get him out of the army because he was a complete psychopath. If you have a look at that, that's a nephew. Right, so my website is www. and it's JAOC, so Julia Alpha Oscar Charlie .org.uk. You'll find a lot of documents on there, a lot of my investigations, and there's over 50 investigations on there, loads of stuff on there. You don't have to agree with it all, but it's a minefield of good information, but you can draw your own conclusions. I would never ever tell you. I'll preach to you what I believe in. I just try and share things with you. Don't know how to do email. Nikki, don't know how to do email. If you send an email to justinordinarycitizen@proton.me, you can also go to my website and there's a link there to send me an email. I'm hopeless with phones to send emails, etc. Get my son to help me. Yeah, Nikki, I can't see my messages on Facebook now. If you're on Instagram with me, go on Instagram and send me a message on Instagram if you can. If you know how to do that. I was a member of the Italian Masonic organization called P90. Well, yeah, Dave, you're right. P90, absolutely. And I did a lot of work with the Black Pope, and no, I didn't do a lot of work with him into that Sassini family. It's a minefield. It's a nightmare. Hi, Wendy, how are you? So I'm going to I've gone on to now, and Widdecombe, we've got more questions about that. I've tried to give you as much as I can about that. So I have gone off onto other things. I'd encourage you to have a look at Dr. Davey file, Dr. Kelly file, and you start to see similarities to what's happened with Dan Widdecombe. And Tony Blair's all over that one. And I'm going to now say who's behind. Keep looking at me because I just don't want the police to bang my door again. I'm off to shop in Irvine. Well, if you go off to Irvine, shopping, is that ice cream shop? Is that in Irvine or am I in the wrong place now? Nardini's or something, isn't it? Nardini's. So I'm going to, this has actually gone okay for me with on YouTube. So I will go and do another YouTube one again, and I'd like to maybe do some more regular basis because to cover as many topics as I can. What I can say to you, I will do a discussion about the Fabian Society who are behind Anne Widdecombe's death. I've said it now. Keep looking at the window. So I'd like to thank you all for coming on today. I really appreciate it. I'm sorry I've been a little bit all over the place. I had to be a bit careful with what I was allowed to say. I've just said something else. As long as the Fabians have a lot, the Fabians have a lot to answer for. Yes, TikTok boys. Honestly, when they arrived at my door at 4:30 in the morning, the police, I'll tell you the story now from back on, I'll never forget, 28th of March. That was the date. I've had quite a few visits from them. But when they come and bang on your door that in the morning, having the full front view of the neighbours with police vans, CID cars, I would like to say not armed dogs, everything. For me, a granddad, in my street, And I've moved now 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the last 18 months I've moved. The prayers, I love our prayers. Thank you for your prayers. 4 times in 18 months I've moved. And every time I move, the neighbours get disturbed by these people. And it almost becomes laughable because they've got my IT equipment, they've kept my phone, I've got a shit phone now, my phones and then my computers, and they took uh, even this is a true story what happened. So I went, they arrested me, picked me up at 4:30 in the morning. They didn't handcuff me, which was a surprise, which is quite good actually. I quite appreciated that part. But I got dressed. They came and I don't visualize this. That's bad. I don't mean to visualize it. I had to get dressed. I can't call it back now. It's not a video. I can cancel when we do edit. But anyway, I was picked up and I got to the police station and I was taken to a police station which is known for terrorism. Not the police station, but the actual where they keep you. And it's called St Leonard's in Edinburgh. So I got there and I went to the front desk and the sergeant, who it was, my name, blah, blah, blah. And they took me to my cell. Now, it wasn't a padded cell. It was a cell with your little thing to lie on. And that was it. And my door was left open. And 2 policemen, woman and man, or man and woman, 2 men, whatever it was going to be, sat there for 19 hours to watch me while I sat there. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm thinking, well, 12 hours, they're going to extend me, they're going to have to do it, but they must be releasing me. They got, not anything wrong. Went to desk, Sergeant 220, and he said, we're going to extend you for another 12 hours. What for? We've decided to extend 12 hours. Back my cell. Still in the same clothes. At 5 to 5, crackerjack time, they came and gave me a jumpsuit. A grey one. A nice sweatshirt, nice trousers, but no shoes. So they took everything off me. It was my brand new shoes. I was gutted. And I still not got them back. And there's no plimsolls. Plimsoll, back shoe things. They've got size 6 or they've got size 14. Now I'm a size 9. I didn't want either. I said, we'll find you some. That time they gave me a fruit bar and some water. I'd had nothing. Still sitting there watching in the cell. At 9:45, see, we're like the interview, 9:45 at night time. So I've been there since I picked up 4:30 in the morning. I said, I need to speak to a lawyer. I hadn't spoken to a lawyer. Spoke to a lawyer. And they wanted my DNA and everything else. I did an interview. My interview lasted 15 minutes at 1:45 midnight. And then all that time, 1:45 midnight, 15 minutes. It's a no comment interview. They released me at 5 past midnight. Kept my phone. I had no shoes on, just a jumpsuit. No money. And to get from there to where I live is about £120 in a taxi, roughly. I couldn't call anybody. I thought, how am I going to get a taxi with no money? Anyway, I get home, I hope I find my car and get some money. There I am in the high street, in the street, 12:20, no shoes on, freezing cold, looked like I just escaped from Pentonville. And thankfully, a taxi driver recognised me and ran me home. I still paid, but that's how you're treated. So I rattled on to a lot of nonsense there. Oh, it's Largs. Sorry, yeah, Nick and Largs. Yeah, radio. Oh God, yeah. All right. Well, what show's going to give you? Truth or feels you should go to live. Okay. Yeah, then go to confirm thing. Yeah, listen, I'm trying to do 7 days with them. Yeah, no. This morning I was threatened with more than that. let me tell you what I was trying this morning. So I'm going to name it now. I had a visit from counter-terrorism this morning without the guns. 2 of them banged on my door at 20 to 8. I want to talk to you about your videos. Don't fuck off. Shut the door. Then they banged again. I didn't answer. And they shouted through the letterbox, unless you open the door, I'm going to kick it in. So open the door. And they made it clear to me what would happen if I discussed this today. And counter-terrorism is 14 days. You get, and then what he told me was, we could lock you up for a year before you plead, if we choose to do so. That's what's available to them. So let's see this. Try doing 7 days with them. Listen, I don't think I could last that long. You're unintentionally funny too. Do you know what? Technology is a real bugger, right? Like, so I've got all this stuff, all the old stuff I've got technology now, right? Because I just have, because all the good stuff's in the police, police box. And my granddad said to me, and I'll never forget it, he said to me, God, that's what's wrong now. Everything is technology, and you don't use these things anymore. I've got a book, I can write stuff down. He says, technology, it'll be the death of us all. So I unplugged his machine and left. That was the last time I saw him, actually. I like my granddad. I didn't really. My granddad died peacefully, actually. I'm so delighted. The other 3 people in the car were screaming at the time, but he died peacefully. You know what? If I don't laugh, I'd end up cracking up. And you know what? For all these lefties and these people that hate my guts, just join the queue. Just join the queue. If it got too many, it doesn't really matter anymore. I don't care what people say about me. I generally don't, and I've got a lot of haters. A lot of my paid haters, people who just don't like me for whatever reason. It's all right. It's cool. I don't have to like them either. England only person can be remanded for up to, yeah, I read about that. 2 years. 2 years. I was getting told I could have a year. Do you know what? The last word my granddad ever said to me is, son, keep that ladder steady. My granddad, I love my granddad, actually, to be fair. I did actually. My dad didn't like me, I love my granddad. Any more questions you got before I go, before I get sectioned? I'm happy to do it, because I might get sectioned soon anyway. But what I would say to anybody that doesn't like me, I know, anybody doesn't like me, I keep looking at the window. I don't even want to do that, because it's like nobody's there, just waiting for somebody to come in instead. What I would say to anyone that doesn't like you, is something you should always remember. You should just say, you have an apology to make to a tree, because somewhere that tree is working tirelessly 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to produce oxygen so you can breathe. So go and say sorry. Do you have any advice on how to check if someone is internet? Yes, come to me directly. I'll tell you. I can find out. I might release all the MI6 officers internationally soon. I've got their files. No, my death warrant. Please come to me directly if you want to know. I'll be able to find out if you can't check the intelligence gap, but I can. I can definitely find out for you. A cuddly jacket. Yeah. Do you know what? I've got jokes for loads of different. Unfortunately, my humour is so bad. I've been banned from Facebook, and my opinions, beliefs. I feel Facebook is a problem. Well, do you know what? I was banned from Facebook for life, Wendy. But they let me back in. I think it's maybe because I'm a shill. I didn't even know what a shill was until 3 years ago. I must be the poorest shill there is, because I've got no money in the bank. Literally none. But I can laugh about it. I've still got my music, and I've got my drinks cup, and I've got my mind, and I'm free in my mind. It's mad people who call to report a crime or they commit. Yeah, that's the thing that gets me, Eddie, is that it almost beggars belief that you go and arrest these 12 patriots for doing something where they're just worrying about the country, yet they're letting these bam sticks in. Bam sticks, let's use that word. Let these people in to carry out atrocities against us and they're not arrested. I can't get my head around how you can send counter-terrorism to people who are flying a drone, but yet you let them come across the sea for free. It's just like, it's like my grand. Honestly, well, I've got so much trouble with my jokes and Bamport. I can't actually come up with words which I think everybody knows, but actually they're colloquial to where I grew up. When you're at school, when I was at school, I went to a really tough primary school, the hardest primary school that I could ever imagine. I was an English kid, 5 years of age, first day at school. I turned up in my Clark's sandals, my white socks, my shorts, my shirt, my tie, my blazer. Only kid at school to have that. So there's me turn up, and I met this guy at the door, and he said at the door, as you go to the playground, the recreation bit. He said, "What's your name?" I said, "My name's Andrew." He said, "Are you English?" But I was born in England, but I consider myself Scottish. Yeah. He called me a word, which about see you next Tuesday. I didn't know what that word was. Of course I didn't know what it was. I went into the playground and there was a tennis ball, and these kids were kicking it around. So I started playing. I was quite good at football, so I kicked it back and I started playing. I ruined my shoes that day, my jacket, my tie, my everything was ruined. But I was one of them. That's all that mattered. And it told me that you cannot ever judge somebody by how they look, because you don't know them. When people judge me, they've not lived their life through my eyes. That's the best way I can describe it. They've got barcodes for food. It takes food to buy. Yeah. People put it in. There's one Raji. I've got. There's so many words I could use, like glaikit and all the other ones, but I'm not going to, because people probably won't understand what I'm saying. So please, I'm just reminding people, my website is www.jaoc.org.uk. You'll find loads of investigations on there. And I encourage you to look up a website called avalonlibrary.net. It'll blow your mind with the amount of information on that, which we supply. And Isle of Bute. Now, I'm glad somebody from Isle of Bute is on here. I actually hired a girl from Isle of Bute once, and she was amazing, actually. And this particular girl worked for a company on Bute, making products, selling them in the city. And I had other products under the guise of what I was doing. And I said to her, "What makes you different from anybody else?" She said, "Well, I'm prepared to make that leap from the known to the unknown just to see if I'm good enough." I gave her the job. She was amazing. That's a true story. We collected 2 containers from the Isle of Bute a while ago, and it's a heavy police presence on the island. Did you see that police presence by any chance, Barbara? If I can ask that question, because hypothetically there were 2 containers taken off that full of things. 1.5, 55. Oh yeah, you're right, Caroline. It's we pay far too much of stuff. Okay, I just need to know that if there was a heavy police presence. That's fine. That's all I need to know. Do I know John Wedger? Yes, I do. Well, personally, I've spoken to him. There are people that say he's working for the other side. I don't know if he is or not. What I do believe is that he has managed to highlight things that have gone wrong with children, and especially Elm Guest House. So I think I always have this phrase: good publicity, doesn't matter if it's bad or good, any publicity can highlight something is worthwhile to get in the public domain. And I really would say, please, John Wedger, I don't know if it's good or bad. I think I'm on the James English show soon as well. He's in touch, so that should be quite interesting. Looking forward to going on that. I won't be talking about Dan G, though. I can't understand that man at all. Hang on a second. Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. Prison food coming in. Thanks. Cheers. Just waiting for police to come. Got prison food, look. Prison food. You call it a jammy piece. if you know what that means. It's not jam. So let's see here. So I started off about Widdecombe today, and I've tried to give out information on that. So I've kind of drifted off into lots of other things about other stuff. So please ask any questions you maybe got. I've got prison foods arrived before the cops turn up. I was warned not to talk about Widdecombe today, so I expect to visit sometime. Twilight Zone. So I'm going back through. We're in the Twilight Zone. Can I tell you, Twilight Zone was my favourite programme in the world. And actually, I've started listening to the audio ones on YouTube now. And Twilight Zone, should listen to them. I need to get used to listening to audiobooks when I'm in prison. I actually met Mark Richardson's nephew the other day there. It's of the world. Oh, it didn't help actually when I said to I'll send you a visit past Dave. I didn't ingratiate myself to the policeman the other week there, and I said to him, I said, the only way you're going to get laid is if you're a brick. He's trying to chat with his female police officer. Didn't like that very much. Stepford Wives. Can I tell you my favourite film when I was Cat Child was the Village of the Damned. Yeah. Gotta tell the all around us at the moment. And there is a thing about NPCs which I can go on to. I can give you. I don't want to tell you more about Anne Widdecombe. I've got to be a bit careful. What you trying to do? I have a pen, friends. I see that quite often actually. About things I don't like about phones, or when people text you, you've got to text them back. That's the thing. But sitting in prison writing pen letters would be much more interesting. I need to learn to write again though. I did break my hand. I'm left-handed actually. I broke my hand. I had to rewrite with my right hand. And that's not easy. And I used to say I'm a son of a doctor. Yeah, just to explain my writing, but I'm not. My dad was in my 60s, horrible man. Because, oh yeah, actually, oh, that's for another day. But be careful. The night season series. Can I just say that I enjoyed? I actually, my favourite programme was. I love the Twilight Zone because I feel as though I'm in the Twilight Zone at the moment. I do feel as though we're also in the movie. Some people have said to me, and I would have poo-pooed this before, have said that we're in a, what do you call it? Like we're actually in a game, not like an arcade game or a PlayStation game, but we're in an environment where we're being played and trying different scenarios. Have you ever been in a situation when you've looked out your front door and there's nobody on the street? And as soon as you set your foot outside the front door, people appear from nowhere. Cars, people, virtual world. It does feel like that sometimes. We're in the Fabian game. Yeah, you're right. I'll tell you this, I'd rather be in Trumpton. Pew pew Balmagrue carpet devil grub. Remember all that. It's like Windy Miller as well when he came out of Camwood Green. Show my age now. Never liked Hector's House of the Clangers though. Who remembers? Why am I talking about game? Why am I talking about these things now? It used to make me funny. I used to think about Captain Pugwash, but it's not funny anymore when I really think about it because those were there deliberate by adults, pervert adults. Simulation game. Thank you, that Eddie. God, you know, I've got dementia coming on. And now it's got dementia on here. I'm sorry, but you won't remember now because you'll forget it by the time we finish this. Somebody's on. I take. You know what? They could be playing us. What task will they give me next? Yeah, Seaman Staines, Master Bates, George of the Cabin Boy, all those ones. That was terrible when you think about it. And the people who watched Magic Roundabout was all to do with mushrooms. That's true. My uncle was actually a bank manager, and he used to get home just to watch that. That's how much he was a lunatic. Simulation. I'm going to answer what questions. Now I think I'm banned. I've still got a few accounts on TikTok. I thought it was, you know what? when I think about it now, LSD, you think about LSD is real, obviously. But I know LSD has been well used. Okay, so I'm going to tell you something else if I can. Well, I've got it's got beetroot in it. I love beetroot. If I can say to you, and a test here, a test. In 2005, I was in Indonesia, and I like to watch that adult version. I was in Indonesia, and we were interviewing somebody who is the wife of an ambassador who'd been given secrets away to another country. Now, she was of Asian descent, married to a Dutch guy, and she'd been passing some secrets. And we were interviewing her, and we couldn't get anything out of her. She was really good. And somebody arrived from Holland. She flew in from Schiphol, and this was a special advisory person, they called them. And her job was to help with interrogation. We would use the normal tactics, sit there and have a cup of tea and chat. We weren't that bad. She was different. What she was able to do was to place something in this person's mind, and that person would answer in her mind, or his mind, or her mind in this case, and that answer would come through to this person. I never believed that could happen, and I was very skeptical at the time. But this person was able to get information from this woman without her saying anything. That was 2005, so 21 years ago. And I've seen that projection of information from somebody to somebody else. They will have an answer without saying anything, and it comes back, and this person will have the answer. And that's happening quite a lot. And this was a human to a human. This is not technology to a human. This is a human. And recently, I've been working with what we call remote viewers. And remote viewers are people with your acceptance can come into your space, your area, and help you. But they can also go back in time and look at something as it was happening. They can't see everything clearly, but it can give that. The case in Ayrshire, where Jason had gone missing, we were called by the family, and you may remember the case where this young lad had gone missing 9.5 weeks. Police couldn't find him. We found him in 4 days, because we were able to use this person to go back and have a look at where. We were able to use satellite pattern and a few other things as well, which I can't go into in here, to track down where his last movements were, and found him in a river. And the police told the family that it was a drugs overdose. The fact that he was wrapped in chicken wire, and it takes you 8 weeks to get an autopsy on somebody to find what was in the system, 8 weeks minimum. In 24 hours, we were able to say it was drugs overdose. So, yeah, voice to skull, Dave, that's right. So I would say that anything the police tell you, don't believe them, because they do try to manipulate situations. I'm telling these few things here that maybe I shouldn't, but I'm using that as an example of remote viewing. And there was a CIA term called remote view, but that is possible. Voice to skull technology is something that was or is being used. If I get jailed, I better float outside my body. I'll get out in no time at all. I'll see my body in there. I'll just be something else. But the voice to skull technology is real. Is suspicious that they didn't cordon off Anne's driveway because of police vehicles. Yeah. You know what, Francesca? Actually, I used to live in Belgium, in Zila, of all places. Long story. And I know Alexander the Crew, the former Prime Minister, name dropping there. The car that was in the driveway was not red. The car, the man they arrested, was red. In his pocket, you saw the cane sticking out, all planned. The car in the driveway was white. And in the driveway, goats up over, in the driveway, that is a forensic scene. Yet they placed, as you quite rightly said, Francesca, the vehicles in that driveway, they didn't cordon it off. With any murder investigation, you make sure the forensic team, you can say they drove in the driveway to knock on the door to find out what happened. That would not be true if Nigel Farage knew there was a car in the driveway, because the neighbours 2 doors down said there was. They didn't need to park on the driveway. It was a crime scene. But because they knew what happened, they didn't need to do that. That would be the answer. With all the think it was better. You think they would do? Let me tell you about illegal immigration and this event that's just happened in Suffolk. I keep looking at the window, keep thinking, it's good time, I keep saying that. I can say the illegal immigrants are coming in. People say to me, they are UN soldiers. They're not UN soldiers. Most of them will have been military trained. Yes, that's correct, because they have, obviously, military 2 years in their country. They're coming in with all sorts of diseases. They're coming in with a desire for testosterone, and they get cooped up in little places, and something will break. They want women. They take what they want in their own country. The more they get, they still want more. By deporting them won't help now, because they're already here. IRGC was prescribed as a terrorist organisation by the government a few days ago, hidden within the Widdecombe thing. If you go back 6 months, 8 months, I was asking for that then. Couldn't understanding why IRGC have allowed 14 of their commanders in our country before February. They're here. The families are here. We know where their families are, but the men are no longer around. Where are they? That's because they're disguised. They've infiltrated into our society. The 140,000 that have gone missing now, according to MI5, government don't know where they are. They are in our communities. They are being looked after, not in these, this is distraction, the hotels. The military bases, distraction, because they're already being held in our society in homes funded by the IRGC. The IRGC have an inordinate amount of money through the Muslim House. Muslim House is part of Muslim Brotherhood. And the money in moving the capital on Muslim Brotherhood is Muslim House Limited, which is based now in Glasgow, in the Partick area. I'm going to say something now that I shouldn't say, but I don't want to keep looking out. It won't brand Muslim Brotherhood. You're right. And I'll tell you why. Deep breath there. In Edinburgh, the old Debenhams building was burnt down. Now, the police haven't said why it was burnt down. That particular building is owned by one particular man's company. And that company called Criterion, which is a property development company. I'm going to put a file on my website today, www.jaoc.org.uk. was about the Aziz Foundation. This man is a billionaire. He started his business in Angola. He created a large food company, which he sold. Came to the UK where his dad was living. He set up a portfolio. That portfolio set up the Aziz Foundation. The Aziz Foundation is a foundation set up so that British Muslims could do postgraduate courses in universities. And in those universities, to give them jobs in certain parts of society, mainly government. The Aziz Foundation finances that. This is the same man who has hundreds of properties in London set up as candy shops and souvenir shops. And you might have seen a Channel 4, or I think it was, investigation a few weeks ago. I saw some interviews going into some in Oxford Street. They're so stupid, Channel 4. If they'd done the investigation properly, they found that these premises are owned by the Aziz guy through sectarian property development. And they burnt down a number of places to avoid having to do the historic buildings. But the biggest portfolio is generating money. And he is a landlord during COVID, ramped up the rates, or the rates of the value, or the rentals, 3 or 4 times what people were paying to get them out. So you can put the souvenir shops in, and candy shops, and barber shops towards money. He is linked to bringing scholars into the UK. He's financing that big event in Suffolk, which just happened. Happening. I'll put the file on my website today, be on by 5 o'clock. You can download that and have a look at who this man really is. He is organising preachers coming into the UK, into universities. He is organising educational facilities. He's organising, you have a look, the same man that burnt down Devon, no, allegedly burnt down, no, it got burnt down by somebody. Yeah, if you have a look at this file, you'll have a look. It is a lot of problems. If you look at Muslim House Limited, they moved from London to Glasgow. Why did they do that? Because they're getting so much, but they had the heads up from Star Wars Group that they were going to ban the IRGC. So what Muslim House Limited have done is they've now created a board of people who are of different nationalities, French and Dutch. Why have they done that? It then now means, as they're a charity, they can have bank accounts in France and in Holland, and they can transfer money between all the groups. And they don't need to declare it the same way. And that funding means that this whole organization of funding buildings, movement of money and cash, everything else, is hard to track. We have no agreement. Now you're being colleagues about banking rules. That's why they do it. If you have a look at their accounts, you can see it as plain as day. Every candy shop here, they used to wash money. And to help, Hamza Yusuf must be complicit. Hamza Yusuf is one of the most disgusting people I've ever come across. He is all over this, but so is Sanya Anwar, the Labour guy. The vape shop inquiry investigation we did, we managed to stop a lot of these things happening by closing these shops down ourselves. But what we found out was this vape shop that went up in Glasgow and did the whole building, Yeah, Dave, we should maybe Partick should be would be a good one, if I'm honest. What about Zia? I'm jumping about a little bit trying to answer the questions. So go back to Samuel a minute. His family are linked to all the accountants for Scottish Government. Anwar and his dental situation and these vape shops all use one accountant, same man. They're all linked. What about Zia? It's one of them. He was part of the Muslim Brotherhood. You start seeing ramping up now of attacks, and I said that before. If I go back to any of my old videos, you'll see that I've been saying this for a long time. That whole situation with the last elections, the Muslim Brotherhood did not get as many. Didn't get as many. Gosh, I'm struggling at the moment. It didn't get as many seats as they expected, and that means they'll start ramping up the attacks on us now. You'll start to see this between now and 2029. I'm just talking all the time. So I think I'll close it now. Hopefully today's been okay. I think I had to be a bit careful what I said about Anna Widdecombe. Key aspect is look at who the anti-terrorism unit has been appointed, Southeast. There's a reason for that. There's no way the car could have got from Rotherham to Widdecombe, that 10-minute window back again. How do they know that 10-minute window would be available? Because obviously the IP address is being used, because they could watch all the text being done, so they knew the window to dive in as soon as that was fixed. It's all planned. Car in the driveway wasn't red. Man they arrested was red. The first one, the guy car was white. That's why I got the wrong man. And Widdecombe was about to release information on the deep state, and I wouldn't trust any of them. So yeah, so thank you very much. I kind of feel hopefully this has been okay for people. Go to my website, I'll put in that thing about the Aziz Foundation on today, and look at avalonlibrary.net. You'll be lost in that for a week if you go into it, but it's worthwhile looking at. Yeah, I will do more of these, Dave. I think I will do them now. Now I've done one on YouTube. I will do one or two more, and this channel is much better for me, I think. So I'd like to thank you all, and please stay safe. And thank you for enjoying my art. And I'll try and do one soon. And Avalon Rabbit Hole, yeah. Now listen, thank you, Chris, as well. I wish you all a great day, and be safe. And remember, somewhere in the world, a tree is working tirelessly to keep you alive by producing oxygen. Make good use of it. See you soon. Oh, my granddad. I need to go see his grave today.